So in this video we'll be making the back of the car look a lot better. So if you've been watching the channel for a bit, you'll realise that the bodywork on Ed is not perfect. We got this here, got a dent here, and the rear bumper is just disgusting. They've got a bit of paint peeling right there. So today, that's what we'll be addressing. So to start off with, I'll just be scuffing the whole thing back and get all this flaky stuff off. And then we'll try and push this dent out as much as possible, and then whatever we don't get out, we'll do a skim over it and try and get it all level. So all I've really done here is that it looked like somebody had gone over the bumper with some really dodgy paint that didn't match, and it was flaked off really easy. So that's all I've done. I've just taken off that back to the original or plastic or the paint that's underneath. It's stuck there properly. I've still got the other side to do. That's why this stuff's all flaking off. So all the loose bits have to come off. Looks like where the strip should be, whoever's worked on it before has just painted a black line there, because the old strip, there was only half of it that was still there. So get that all out as well. So here's our first stage in the pneumatic sander. I've just gone around taking all the loose bits off. You know, this was pretty bad right here. That was pretty disgusting. Somebody went over that with some pretty dodgy paint, and it was just flaky and everything. So that was the worst bit of the bumper. There was a few runs about here where the fuel filler was. Somebody had put wrong colour again on that, so gone a bit back there. And also I want to do a repair here. There was a bit of a dent here, so I took that back to bare steel so I can line that up good. So now I'm going to start going over this with some wet and dry sandpaper, because this does feel pretty coarse, and smooth it all out. I won't be getting all the paint off, but all the bits that are not going to let the paint on top stick to it. Something else I want to show you guys, that you can see there's a dent right there. I don't know if you can see it that well, but yeah, there you go. And I'm just going to try and get as much of that out as possible with a hammer and some wood, because I can get behind it right there. It's a really convenient spot to have a dent, I guess. I don't know what I'm really doing, but I'll see what I can do. So I've sort of gotten to what I can. It's probably go over it with a smear of bog, but that's what it looks like. It's a little bit better, but it's alright. So I've gone over everything with a bit of paper over the bumper, and I scuffed up this part here, which I'm about to do some filler on. I've tried to get a lot of the dent out, but there's a little ripple still in there. So that's all scuffed up, and I'm going to mix some bog up now. We'll first go over it with some stuff to remove all whatever little grease might be in there, and try and make it straight as we can. So I'm just mixing the filler up here. I'm using a glass pane. I think this stuff says to use 3 parts in 100 parts of the filler. So we'll get to it. So that's a layer of filler right there. I think I did an alright job. It's just a light skim, uniform it out. I think that's all I probably need. While I was at it, I went and did the other side as well. There, that had a bit of a ding in it. So cool. We'll get to forming that when it dries a little bit. I would like to sand it to shape before it's completely dry. It's a bit easier to sand then. But obviously we'll let it go for a little bit first. Yeah, that's the bit I was dreading, which is done. So I've just finished sanding this bit of filler here. I've taped this up as well to make sure that none gets on the headlight, and also scratches from sandpaper. But that's alright. We're going to do another layer. Just if this is still a bit low here, and you can see that it's come through to the steel there. And also on this side, decided to do that bit as well, and that's looking a bit low there still. So we'll tidy them up with another layer. And I'm hoping that should be it. I thought we only needed one layer, but looks like we're going to need two. So I've finished up all the filler, sanded it back, got it somewhat, no, it's not 100%, but it's a lot better than it was. So all I'm going to be doing now is just taping up all this sort of thing, anything I don't want paint on, and I'll be putting down some primer on the bare steel bits and go from there. So if you have a look here, I've gone over all the spots that I've worked on with a bit of primer and it's plastic adhesive stuff. So I've found that the bits that I worked on the bumper, the plastic hasn't liked it too much, so it needs a bit more of a scuff up to make it all look smooth. It looks pretty ugly at the moment. So I'm letting that dry off and then I can work on that again. So I've flipped the car around because it was getting a bit hot out in the sun, but I've taped up a few things that I don't want painted, they're important. I've scuffed back the bumper, it all feels pretty good now, so I'm going to go over it with primer again to see how it looks, and if it's all smooth I'll move on to paint. So now I've got the compressor all up the front and the line running to it, got the gun ready, and I've just finished the last bit of wet sand, so I'll make sure all the water's out of it. I'll let this dry off, go over it, and I've got this bumper adhesive, well, plastic bumper adhesive stuff that will have to go on the bits that are showing that are bare plastic, and then make it all the same. Well, here we are. That's the last bit of primer before we're going to do paint. That all went on fairly well. I was having problems with regulating air pressure with the inconvenient spot of the compressor, and it kept tripping out the power. But yeah, looks all right. You can still see that a little bit, but I'm hoping that the tape will go over that and sort that out when we do the tape that goes in there for the executive PSs. Well guys, I buggered it up. It didn't go too well. I've got, see, look at that, that's disgusting. What I was having was the circuit breaker was tripping every time on the compressor, so I was getting real inconsistent air pressure and it would always bleed down, but that turned out good, but that's about the only bit. So I'll have to block it down again and give it another skim with paint. Hopefully it's better the second time. So this is our second attempt, and I think I'm happy enough with that. It'll do. That dent's disappeared. So it's not perfect. It's an at-home job. But it's way better than it was before. So yeah, we'll start peeling tape off. Okay, well that's the finished job on the back. I've still got a bit more colour rubbing to do there. I've got to sand that back and go over with some polish, but 90% done. Looks a lot better than it did. Shit loads of work, about 30 hours. I'm buggered, I want to go have some KFC.